right, welcome to our special village board meeting for Tuesday, October 15th. Kind of a short agenda, but I'd like to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So our first, and probably the reason we called this meeting was to talk about our water distribution bid award. And with us from Santec, we have Dave today to ask any questions. And Grant, I'm going to ask you to take the lead and take us through the numbers.
Okay. At first, when we forecasted the water line project, which is to replace a 12-inch main underneath Route 9 from Market Street to the Y where the hospital is, and then Platt, Chestnut, and Livingston all the way to Montgomery, except Livingston goes to Beach. We would replace the 8-inch water line, all new hydrants, things like that. Our price was at about $3.73 million. It came in considerably. We had 3 bids. Our lowest bid, just for the construction part of the piece of it, was $4.642 million. Maybe briefly, and then we had, that's Grant Street. Chacon came in at $5.588 million, and Central came at $6.229 million for all that work. We have it broken down into base bid for Montgomery, and then alternates 1, 2, 3, which is the side streets. So maybe Dave Hansen from Standing Tech could briefly tell us why the expense came in higher.
Sure. I mean, we had a number of interested bidders. The primary issue is the restoration work on DOT and the work hour restrictions, which, based on contractor input at the pre-bid meeting, the estimated schedule that we put out originally was far too short. They said that needed to be extended through the full construction season next year, and also whatever work they can get done this year, this winter on the village streets. And so that, plus the 9 to 3:30 work hour restrictions and the intense restoration requirements they have to restore the concrete pavement in full beneath, which is a several-day process for every linear foot of trench that you're restoring, because you have to basically drill down rebar, then you have to pour the concrete, and then you have to wait for the concrete to set up, and then you have to pave over the top of it. And so what would normally occur in the span of a day actually occurs over 3 days, with the traffic control and the work hour restrictions sort of on top of that. So, and it's our understanding and experience, some other projects in the local area are experiencing the same issues, especially when DOT streets are involved and the restoration requirements are involved that come with that. And so a lot of projects are coming in higher than estimated.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, the market is currently a little more favorable to bidders, to contractors. Interest rates are low. A lot of municipalities are undertaking projects and taking advantage of that. So bidders have a little bit more of their choice as far as what work they want to undertake and at what price they want to do it. So it's kind of a combination of both of those things.
Right. So to that end, we went from forecasted just for the construction part of a $2.89 million to $4,642,000. That's the big difference. What that also does is it boosts the contingency, which is a percentage of the total project, from $326,000 to $446,000. So it's another $120,000. We have increased engineering costs because, again, if the calendar is longer, then there's going to be a lot of engineering supervision over that longer calendar period. That went from, let's see, how's that broken down here? We got,
I want to say it was originally 164.9.
yeah, 164.9.
And it's, we had to add an additional 162 because essentially
yeah, that's it. The additional 162 too.
Construction duration went from 22 weeks to 47 weeks.
Right.
So,
Those are the big differences.
yeah.
Wow. Double.
So total project costs, again, we forecast 3.73 million to begin with, is really 5.757 million. We agreed to put $250,000 down. It's probably long gone at this point, but.
No, it's still there.
Okay. So total project cost funded is $5,507,764 if we do the entire project with Grant Street. We have the bid, the grant from the Environmental Facilities Corp, New York State, which is fantastic, of $2,228,276. So we would be doing short-term market rate financing, which would switch to long-term market rate financing, of $3,279,488. So we would be financing per long-term bond at some point, $3,279,488. Now, we've done previous resolutions which covers all this, because we did kind of worst-case scenario resolutions. So right now, we did get this commitment from EFC that the rate right now is 1.2%. We can't know what the long-term funding rate is going to be for this debt, but we do know that this is a favorable interest rate climate, and that EFC, not only did they give us a 2.2 something million dollar grant, but they also are availing we can avail ourselves of their AAA low interest financing rate, not our financing rate, which is whatever our municipality credit rating is, but the AAA credit rating of the EFC. So we're never going to get a better deal than this. Not only that, but several years ago, we did a vulnerability report. I think Heinz Sauer kind of kicked that off with the distribution system. And our most vulnerable and most important segment was this is phase one right here. That's what we identified. It was the most critical thing to be redone. So everything's falling together. And this evening, I would like to accept the Grand Street bid of $4,642,000. But I assume you guys have questions, or?
Yeah, first question, and I think it's going to be an easy one. EFC, do we a grant? When we got that grant of 2.28, that was for 60% of the projected funds, because that was the max you could get. Now our projected expenditure is, 1.7 million higher than what we were before.
Right.
Is there a possibility of going back and asking?
We
for
tried. We had a conference call with the EFC. We had our bond counsel on, and he pitched them on that. And they said, in no uncertain terms, that this was it.
I know. I wanted to get that on public record.
Yeah. So
So it was a.
and he tried. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an important thing, because, time has elapsed from the time when we started working this grant project to today. And as Dave mentioned, it's kind of a bidder's favor right out there now to be able, because of the project and the financing. But not only that, over time, construction costs go up, which is somewhat added to this as well, because the big hit on this is Route 9.
Yes.
That's right.
In terms of the estimated cost for doing the Route 9 project, now Route 9 alone is over $2 million just to do that segment of the stretch. So that's a considerable increase due to, A, the work that needs to be done, the schedule that needs to be maintained, and then they're putting it back together again, correct?
Correct.
So, I don't have any more questions. This is important to note that.
Our legal fees and bond counsel rates are pretty much staying the same. In some instances, they've been reduced. So.
At the last meeting, there was a question about cash flow that you were going to be working through.
Oh yeah, we'll go. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to do it on that one?
I think as part of we had a conference with EFC last week with Grant, our bond counsel, our financial advisors, and, was it you?
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah,
Okay,
he was
sorry.
in.
And Dave. And I think EFC did kind of let us know that they have a turnaround time of every week. If we get a request in by Friday, by that next Thursday, it will be reimbursed for it. So they kind of put my mind at ease as far as a turnaround time for recouping that. They explained to us that the first half of your grant is the top half, and then the middle is your financing, and then the second half of the grant is what you use last. So
Right.
we already have a commitment of short-term financing from EFC of 1.256. So we have half of the grant, the 1.256, and I think that, so it gives us time to secure the rest of this 3.2. And then I don't know if, Brant, you want to go into,
So in the water budget, we've been putting, budget year 2018, 2019, we put away $177,824 into the capital fund, and then last year, 2019, 2020, $192,449. So what we're going to be doing is taking capital transference and converting it into debt service.
right. However, some of that is allocated for the
lagoon.
the lagoon.
Which we're
will
finishing
be
up.
Finishing up,
Yeah.
so.
Right now, the lagoon is, we have all the silt it's sequestered in the bags, and then it's a question of just moving it at this point. So that's kind of like the last phase 2 of the project. So that'll be done soon.
How are you making the, or how much are you setting aside capital reserve? There's always can be some emergency contingency.
Well,
What are you leaving in that fund?
We need to sort of go through our normal budgeting process to see, like in the couple months, what our capital needs are going to be in the water.
And that's going to be important.
In the
because,
water
I
budget.
mean, everybody should know that we're drawing down on our capital reserves for the water treatment plant. And it's a 1940s water treatment plant. We've been trying to invest into a lot of it to keep it as current as possible, but technology is changing. Things are changing a lot within our water treatment system, so we got to look carefully at how much can we draw down and not have that contingency in that bucket that we can save to do improvements to our water treatment plants to still deliver water quality. So,
And the capital that we have been socking away has been earmarked for the lagoon and for this, so.
not for anything else over and above.
Right.
So we'll be drawing that down, and we got to start thinking about that long term.
It'd be
Now, we
nice to
had-
come up with a new 5-year
Well,
capital plan.
the Dutchess
We've had
County-
one already, and then,
Dutchess County Wastewater Authority is supposed to deliver that.
that's right.
In
That's
fact,
true.
A 10-year plan. I don't know when that's going to time out. Do you have any idea on when that?
We're
time-
trying to,
That's the emails that you've.
we're trying to get the
Yeah.
documents ready for you guys to look at. Well, they're almost ready for you guys to look at now, and then we
Okay.
send them to Rich, and
Well, that-
perhaps go out to bid in November.
That's important, because that'll give us that projection that we need to look forward to maybe what we should consider for contingency to allocate additional funds to be able to do water treatment. So
Brent
we're not,
Did reach out to,
we're not ruling out the possibility that we may have to, in the future, adjust our water
Oh, yeah.
rates to be able to do this.
No, we're not, but as of today, we can fit it in the rate structure
Right.
that we have now. And rates have not been increased in years.
When was the last time we had a rate increase?
2006.
2006. So that's,
13 years.
so I think that's an important consideration as we get into the budget cycle, because we need to have this we need to start thinking about our capital plans for the next project, which could be phase 2 also of this program, right? Because there's phase 2, which is another
That's right.
piece of our water infrastructure, which we looked
Additional
at
side streets and,
Yeah.
making your way back to the tank.
South Street and back was phase 2.
And some laterals for redundancy, not part of the extra loops that weren't dead ends, not part of that.
I'd have to go back to the report and look at it, but, I mean, essentially, you're creating your your most critical redundancy by doing the Montgomery Street project first. You have the 10-inch that runs on Mulberry, and now you'll have the 12-inch that runs on Montgomery, and essentially you'll be feeding the heart of the village, from two different pipes.
Brent, the 1.2%, and I think this was the question that Trustee Lewitt was asking, we did discuss last Tuesday, and it sounds like we know the answer tonight, that it would continue even into the greater amount of money that we're now seeking. In other words,
Yeah,
that
I expect it to be a
financed at the same
little,
rate.
yeah, I expect it to be a little higher than that,
Oh, okay.
frankly, but
There was no commitment that we would get to 1.2.
Yeah.
They just said the rates are favorable right now to go forward for.
It's in, yeah, it's in
But it would-
the binder at 1.2.
Just so we're presuming that it would be for the greater investment that we now need to make.
We're already committed for the 1.20 for the 1,256,000 that we've already closed on the financing.
Okay, okay. And I think when we were together last Tuesday, the hope was that that same very favorable rate would
That's what we're
extend to-
hoping, yeah.
Okay.
But it's not, we haven't,
We haven't got that commitment.
not
Okay.
locked.
But it says subject to change upon the terms and conditions set forth in the project finance agreement, so we're not entirely sure what that means. However, what we do know is that it's a low interest rate environment and that even our own borrowing rate's not too shabby right now.
No, it's not.
So,
So Karen, you did look at some possibilities of water rate, and what would it be if we had to do an adjustment? Do we want to consider that now, or do we want to postpone it?
I think that might be better to do during the budget, because as Brant said, we're okay with what we have transferring to capital, what we have committed from our annual operating budget at this time. So to work on the rates and moving forward would be to kind of work on that, what we want to put into capital for the second phase and for other things in the water. So I think, I don't know that we have to do that contingent on this project, but I think to do a good analysis of the water and sewer rates and, you know, get a real handle on how many units and accounts we have in different, and maybe kind of seeing what other municipalities do, and I think make that part of our budget process would be good.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Rick?
While we have Dave, is there anything that you need to ask for Dave? While we got him in the front row.
Just it's a much extended timeline in terms of the work effort now, right?
Yeah, it's like, what did you say, 44 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's 47 weeks through.
47 weeks.
It's October and November. October is substantial completion, November is final completion, October 21st, November 18th. And we had assumed in our, extended proposal, our supplemental agreement, that this winter on the village streets where full-time inspection isn't required, we'll do a part-time inspection to try to save some costs. And then when you're out in the DOT right away, they expect, us engineer inspection to be full-time. So that's what drives the
Yeah,
cost.
so that's a change from when we first proposed this. We were going to do Route 9 first and then work on the laterals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you can't do construction on Route 9 in November,
Yeah,
right?
DOT will not allow you to work on
So,
the streets.
if we want to start immediately,
You're
we
not
have to
gonna
start on
start
the laterals.
You can start, it's a spring start, and it was just based on the rebid process, having gone through the first time and then rebidding and then, just the season, so.
So the irony, actually, DOT is forcing us into the high traffic season rather than the low traffic.
You would effectively, you would
right.
effectively work through, march through, through fall.
Typically, traffic is lightest in the first quarter of the year.
In that schedule that we put out in the original bid, bids weren't received, so it probably wasn't seen favorably by the contractors. That's why we really listened this time to what, to their experiences with DOT and this kind of work on these kind of streets.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
It's been a long time, and it's been a lot of work to get to this point.
I mean, this is something we have to do, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
it's
right?
not gonna get
It's
any
not,
better.
it's not like we can't not do
Right.
this,
That's
to
right.
move forward, to rebuild our water infrastructure and deliver not only just water effectively to our customers, but fire protection as well comes along with this, increasing the lines for fire protection. So it's a win-win all the way, in combination with the low interest rates. So,
We have the photos too of the pipe that we've been mending in the ground.
I should have brought the pipe up with me. Could have shown it. All right, so
I would like to
make a motion?
make a motion to accept the Grant Street bid of $4,642,000, which the bid item description is base, which is Montgomery Street, plus alternatives 1, 2, and 3, which is Platt, Livingston, and Chestnut. To Mulberry. Livingston goes to Beach.
A
Second. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
We got a water infrastructure
Thanks.
Now we have to do the
resolution. Right.
Karen has, you had,
I do. Would you like me to?
Right here, do you want a copy of it?
I haven't seen it.
Well, I think there's a supplemental resolution here.
Yeah.
And this.
You want to read it, Karen?
Yeah, I can,
You were
just
working on
because
this one.
I want to just
Okay.
make sure everyone's clear on the numbers and what they mean. So it's a supplemental resolution. We've already received the grant. We've already been authorized and closed on funding for 1.256 million. So the supplemental resolution reads, whereas the capital project herein, after described as proposed as heretofore, been determined to be a type 2 action pursuant to the regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, promulgated pursuant to seeker, so all seeker has been complied with. Whereas on August 22nd, 2017, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rhinebeck duly adopted a bond resolution to finance the cost of the construction of the water main along with various roads in and for said village at a maximum estimate cost of $3,735,000 with bonds authorized to be issued therefore. Whereas the maximum estimated cost of the project has increased to $5,507,764, and through the grant application process, the village has been notified of the award of an amount of $1,772,764 for the project. And that is the difference between the $5,507,000 and then the $3,735,000. So now therefore be it resolved by the affirmation vote of not less than a majority, it is hereby determined that the maximum estimated cost of the project as described in the preambles hereof is now determined to be $5,507,764.
5,700,000.
507.
507.
5,757,764. I thought you transposed it a little bit.
No, I subtracted the 250,000 that we,
Oh, I'm sorry.
right, that's why
Yeah.
I subtracted the 250,000.
Oh, we have to pencil this in then.
The village.
Or, I mean, if we want
I didn't
to.
change it, probably since you received that.
Oh, okay.
It's.
I see where you're, I see where you're.
505.
Yeah, mine is not,
507.
mine hasn't been changed yet.
As long as Karen has it.
I got it.
Yeah.
That's less our down payment.
And then sections number 1 and 2 just go into the financing. And then I'll just read the last one. By the expenditure of $1,772,764 grant in aid monies hereby allocated to cost of said project, not included in the $3,735,000 serial bonds heretofore authorized by the bond resolution.
Motion to accept the resolution?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Do we need to do the certification in the supplemental bond resolution as well?
I do the certification, but you have to
She
do the
will.
supplemental resolution.
Didn't we just do that?
No, that's the one we'll call.
So do we need to?
Oh, no, I have it, because I have who made the motion and who seconded it. No, we're good.
We're good?
And then I do the certification, which is all set to go.
We're good.
A lot of work, Grant.
Done? It's done. Our superintendent of public works is sitting in the back of the room. John, you ready for this one?
What? Sure.
Yeah? Ready to kick this one off?
Is this the backhoe?
No, this is, we're just,
Not yet.
you ready for the water project? Come on. No.
Yeah, I'm ready.
No. All right, very good. The next thing on the agenda is our 2020 election resolution, which I need to find in my file. Which I can read. All right, so this is the Village of Rhinebeck resolution for Village of Rhinebeck election. The next village election for the officers of Village of Rhinebeck will be held on Wednesday, March 18th, 2020. And that no person shall be entitled to vote in this election unless they are registered with the County Board of Elections on a county voter registration list. Residents in the Village of Rhinebeck must register with the County Board of Elections by Friday, March 6, 2020, to be included in the county list for the March 18, 2020 village election. If you're already registered with the county at your current address, you do not have to register with the county again to vote. That the Village of Rhinebeck no longer holds a village registration day, and that the Village Board of Trustees must designate by resolution and publish the offices which are to be filled in each election district and the terms thereof. Now therefore be it resolved, Section 1, that the Board of Trustees designates the following offices as vacant at the end of the current official year to be filled at the village election to be held Wednesday, March 20th, 2020 for the following terms. There's a date change there.
It should be the 18th,
It
right?
should be the
Yeah.
18th.
Yeah, I just caught that. Yep.
Trustee, 2-year term, first Monday in April 2020 through noon of the first Monday of April 2022. Trustee for 2-year term, first Monday in April 2020 through noon of the first Monday in April 2022. And Section 2, the village clerk is hereby directed to publish this resolution in full in the Daily Freeman. Voting for the forthcoming election shall be conducted Wednesday, March 18th, 2020, from 12 noon to 9 p.m. at the Rhinebeck Village Hall, not Town Hall. It'll be here at the Rhinebeck Village Hall, 76 East Market Street, Rhinebeck, New York. Respectfully submitted, Village Clerk Patricia Kuhn. So, do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. So it's important, now that we have a list, we can have the election here. So congratulations, we got that. Trustee Lewis, do you want to talk about a backhoe?
Sure. Well, I'm going to bring John Fenton up if you want to give a couple words.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
We kind of found ourselves in a tough situation. We have 2 backhoes. One primarily is our real workhorse. It's the 4x4. It has approximately maybe 5,000 hours on it. We find that it's constantly breaking down, usually on a weekly basis. The transmission is okay, but when we use it in the capacity of more of a front-end loader, and so the way we operate with it, it puts a lot of strain on it. It's a perfect backhoe if it's just solely digging, but when the way we use it, it's not working out. So I talked to Trustee Lewitt, and we wanted to shop around for a used backhoe with limited hours on it that had a couple accessories on it that we needed, like an extender hoe and so on. So we actually found one, and basically just asking to see if the board would grant us the money for it. I think we had a budget around 40,000, and we were able to find one, 37,500. So that's pretty much where we're at. We're getting into the leaf, and we've always been in the brush season, but we're getting into leaves and, of course, snow very shortly. Honestly, if we tried to push the 4x4, we probably wouldn't make it a quarter through the season with, trying to load up snow and what have you. So that's kind of where we're at.
Do you know how many hours this one has?
This one here, I just met Larry. Larry's the one that sold it to us, and he said it was in a range of 200 to 300 hours.
Scott Min did go up and take a look at the machine.
Yeah.
Looked it over, so basically our man, our chief mechanic, went up and took a look at it and poked at it. He thought it was in good shape and of good quality. A couple of things, I don't know if you guys were purposely parking the backhoe when it was broken near my house, but
No, that wasn't on purpose. It was ideal, though.
It was.
Yes, certainly broke it down a couple times near my house, so I've noticed it a couple of times. And this is something that we've known, is coming. There is just over $59,000 currently in the Highway Department capital budget. And because it was anticipated, Mike mostly was shopping around, and we figured out the range that basically you could find a good unit for under $40,000. So we said, go out, take a look at that. We want to keep a cap on that. So we have the money. We have the money in our capital budget. It's something I think that we need to do. We've had our mechanic go up and look at it. And I'd like to make a motion then to accept the bid from Montano Equipment Sales of Saugerties, New York for $37,500 for backhoe serial number JCB 3CX4 TH020033436.
It sounds like we,
Second? Let's have a second
I'm sorry.
first.
Sorry.
a second, Mr. Mayor, a second.
All right, any discussion?
Thank you. It sounds like we really have no choice from what Mr. Fenton has shared. We may not get through the season, even a portion of the season, with the existing equipment.
And I'll say from the first time that I've been on the board, from when I started, Mike and John and company go, we're going to need a backup. We're going to need a backup. And I'd say, next year. So it finally kind of came around to
I mean, this kind of also segues into something that we've always been trying to do in-house, and this is a legitimate opportunity for us to really try to get other departments to help out with each other. If we do have this additional backhoe, I mean, the backhoe that we're going to replace is still in okay condition. It could still dig, and we do have two operators that want to start trying to dig for our water leaks and what have you. So I'm hoping this is our opportunity.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I know you will.
So you're going to send the current one down to water and sewer? Or?
Well, we're going to keep it on site. I want to make sure that these guys, they're going to have to practice on it, and we're going to keep it in the village, and we're going to let the other departments use it. There's two operators that are they're pretty skilled, and they can dig. So we're going to put them to the task and see if we can keep everything in house.
We would have to do a capital transfer to send it to the water district.
Right.
Yeah, we're not at that point yet.
Can't just, right, let it
Can't
slide-
just move it over.
Slide it over.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, if they want to spend the money.
Oh, but you guys want to buy used stuff?
On a used
Maybe we
piece
want
of
to buy new
equipment.
backhoe?
That kind of backfired on Brant last time.
See, we're the only prospective buyer of the water?
I will want to say too, that you've been looking at, you did compare to new.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Right, so there was an extensive look at new versus used, and
Correct.
really the push that Trustee Lewis has been pushing on is to find something good quality
Absolutely.
that's used.
We're talking double
And
in
we're saving-
price.
We're saving, new was over 100,000.
Yeah, easy.
Oh, yeah. Even
Well,
the newer, the later year models that had a few hundred hours on it, we're still in the $60,000, $70,000 range. So I think we got a pretty good deal.
All right, so we have a motion and a second.
I had one more, I just don't recall the procurement issues when it comes to buying used equipment. I guess it's unique enough that
Yeah, I don't think.
you
we
can't
have
get
to.
3 bids for.
Karen asked, yeah, and there isn't anything, it's not like, it's a market out there of
Right.
250-hour backhoes.
Yeah, I know
You're
what
not going to have them lined up. They're far and few between.
Okay.
Sole source, so to speak.
Well,
Yeah,
not a
and
sole
you-
source, just
Oh.
a used, that you can't really compare used.
I mean, there were plenty that we rejected.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We can document that then.
Yeah.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried.
Thank you.
I just have one.
Dave, you don't want to vote?
Hesitating.
You want to use, do you want to use it for the water bid? Can we sell it to Dave?
I just have one other, I just need to request that the board authorize those funds to come from the capital project, the capital
Capital.
account for the highway.
Okay.
I'll
And
make a
is-
motion, we do that, what you just said.
I'll second the motion to use the capital funds.
And then is the board, if John is ready
See
to
you,
do
John.
this, is the
Oh.
board okay with him making this purchase prior to the next meeting? Can he,
Oh,
I think he said he needed to do this right
I think
away.
we're approving it now, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's been voted and approved. We voted on a specific piece of equipment.
and we'll take it from the capital.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Don't drive it here, pick it up.
No, we'll pick it up. It's actually going to be delivered.
Oh, good.
I think that's going to be all.
I don't think we voted though.
To what?
To, we
Withdraw
second,
from capital.
yeah.
Yeah, we did. Somebody took first, I did so.
Yeah.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Thank you. All right, so next was peddling permit approval. This is, Pat, this is the one that's been removed, right?
Yep.
So
They have changed their mind. They
this
pulled-
was String Thing Studio, has made other plans, so they will not be looking to use the parking or whatever, so
oh.
that's done. All right, so salary discussion is on the agenda.
Rick, did you want to?
Sure, well, we'll be new business, I guess, let's do the agenda and then we'll do that.
What is the
We'll do street after, street teams.
We had, yeah, we got together with that as well.
Or what order do you want to do?
Well, I wanted to go into the executive session, which we could do and then come out.
Oh, okay.
Well, so let's discuss this, because we've gone back and forth. You have to be very specific
Thanks,
to
Dave.
go in, thanks, Dave. You have to be very
Thank you.
specific to go into executive session. You can't just
Yeah,
say
no, I
for personal,
understand.
let me just, for
Yeah.
everybody, you can't say for personal matters, you can't just say for finance. You have to say, I want to go into executive session for the discussion to discuss employee for the purpose of. So, do you want to go into executive session?
Sure, I do just want to point out that 6 years on the school board, and we used the same open meetings law. We were quite comfortable with an attorney always at the meeting with the matters of personnel. However, I certainly yield to this approach, which is I'm looking to go into executive session to discuss matters of an individual employee and its matters of wages.
So let me just read from NICOM, and this is from Wade Beltramo, the head of NICOM. He basically says, per the discussion I've had with him, the Board of Trustees wants to discuss giving a particular employee a raise because of their performance, i.e. in a promotion or a demotion. That would be appropriate to discuss in executive session. However, if the board simply wants to discuss an inequitable pay scale for that employee, discussions such as this that would impact the individual but is not related to that employee's employment history of performance, such discussion would not be appropriate to enter into an executive session. So the purpose of having a general, can we give this employee a raise, is not executive session.
Not surprisingly, you can find attorneys with different opinions. I have been in touch with Kristen O'Neill from Open Meetings Law, and I didn't bring the email with me because, Mr. Mayor, I didn't know that we would be debating the issue this evening. But it sounds like there's a reticence to move this into executive session, despite the fact that I feel that it's appropriate. And if that's the case, then I will simply punt on this until we can get further legal counsel.
Now, this is, here's the email from,
Well, yeah, but I didn't bring the email.
Just, there's another issue too, like, it's just not appropriate to talk about an individual and their failings and their merits and things and whether they deserve a raise. If you're gonna do it if you're worried about executive session, then what we need to do is having a working group we're entitled to work product. You know,
Yes.
is we can have a two-person group that decides what to do, you know, or weighs all the situation, and then would come back to us, come back to the group. Because it's simply not,
Well, this issue is salaries are a public.
good idea.
A public matter.
yeah, but it gets really personal.
I understand,
It-
but that's why you have to be very
But-
specific.
Well, by the way, I'm not suggesting anything that this board didn't agree to move into executive session at the July 2019 meeting. We went into executive session in July 2019 to discuss the very matter that I was looking to discuss this evening. We did.
And it was not appropriate to have that, because we were discussing the rate of
Then
pay.
this really is breaking news, because that,
And that's what I'm trying to find out, because I think we have to follow the
So
rules.
it may not be.
We have to follow the rules, and this is NICOM, who gives us advice and counsel, who says if we're talking promotion or demotion, that's appropriate to do. If we're talking, comparing this person's salary to another person's salary,
we're not going to be able to reach a resolution on this evening. And had I known, again, that we were going to be debating which attorney's email we wanted to read, I would have brought the one that Ms. O'Neill sent to me back in July, actually the end of June, because I wanted to know if it was appropriate for the July meeting, which I did bring up and this board did approve, that we moved into executive session. So, but Mr. Mayor, I can tell that, I don't know about the other trustees, but I can sense that this is not something that you're comfortable with.
I'm not given the advice from counsel.
Advice, again, for the record, that's counter to advice that I've received, which I'll be happy to circulate, and perhaps we can reconsider this the next time the board meets.
I'm willing to do it in open meeting if we wanted to do it.
No, I don't think that's
I don't
fair
think
to the
it's-
employee.
Again, I
that's-
think if
I
we're going to do it that way, I come down the middle then, I guess we would need a working group, and hopefully that two people would look into the salary matter, and then hopefully that would be persuasive to the, but it's not a good idea.
No, that's unfair to the employee. It's
Yeah.
inappropriate, it's inconsistent
I
with
mean,
what
I
we
don't
did
care
90
what the
days ago.
executive session rule is, I'm saying that that's just not the way to do it in this forum.
I agree.
So we're punting?
I think I left with no choice, Mr. Mayor.
The board wants to overrule it, they can overrule it, but
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for the reasons that I've articulated this evening, which I've supported, by the way, through email to the other trustees, yourself, from legal, different attorney, but again, we shouldn't be surprised that two attorneys might have a different opinion. I'd like to make a motion that we go into the executive session to discuss what we picked up, what we originally discussed in the July 2019 meeting.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
You want a discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted a little more discussion.
Okay. Sorry, we'll back
That's
up.
okay, back off.
What was the vote?
We haven't voted.
Yeah, we can't really, I mean,
Sorry.
We'll have to discuss.
because we suspended the vote.
Well, it's a discussion after the second.
Yeah, we can go into discussion.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Are people amenable to taking this to a two-person group, or what do we think about that?
I would be,
And bring a work product back, that's an appropriate
because I'm
way.
going to have the same issues, right?
I think, here's the.
We all do.
Let's have a discussion. We all have this issue. Trustee Lewitt has the issue right now in terms of hiring people for the highway department, right? We've lost people there because salary considerations.
No pay.
Correct?
Correct.
We have issues with the water department that need to be brought up in terms of equalizing their rate of pay as well. We have issues maintaining, getting new employees for our volunteer, for our part-time police department because of our rate of pay. So we have an issue all the way across the board that's greater than one person right now that I think we really need to address and discuss and figure out what our plan is going forward in terms of how to do that. It's greater than that one person, because we all are having this issue.
And Mr. Mayor, for that reason, because each of the examples that you just described is greater than one person, the attorney advice that I received said, if you're speaking greater than one person, absolutely, it should be a public setting. But if you are having a discussion about an individual, as I conducted appropriately in July of 2019, and I want to continue that discussion in October of 2019, that's an individual person, and that merits, I believe, executive session.
Any other discussion? You have any other questions?
Do you want to bring in a new motion, Rick?
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, I have to say that some of this, I mean, in terms of the discussion, usually I would think of this as much more pegged to our budget cycle. So really beginning our wintertime discussions. And if we're getting into this, because this is going to become it's a systemic problem, I would like to talk to Karen. I'd like to get some things laid out so we understand what kind of impacts we're talking about.
So we
because-
have a couple months, because when budget hits, we really don't, I don't personally have time
Right,
for this when budget hits.
Right, no, but-
Because the budget hits.
Right, no, but what I'm saying is, that, but we're going to have to look at it because,
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is that we have been uncompetitive for a couple of positions down at Highway. We've lost 2 people at least, 3, because we can't offer a competitive salary. And if we're going to start shuffling salaries upward, it's going to make a major impact on our budget. And that's my concern. I want
Well, would you be interested in being in the 2-person group?
I could do that, yeah.
And I believe what we said back in July too was that we needed to bring this back into the budget cycle to have the discussion at a broader level. And that's clear what we said.
No, I'm not sure that's clear what we said. I do know that there was a discussion among the board that, hey, John, this is not without merit, but come to us in a few more months about this with more information. You're making a
So-
disconcerting face, but that is what was discussed. And in fact, that's what I was planning on sharing this evening, research that I've done that I believe the board was seeking when I last brought this up, Mr. Mayor, in July 2019.
So we have a first and a second with discussion. All in favor of going into executive session to discuss a wastewater treatment plant employee for the purposes of an increase, correct? That's what you want, that's the purpose
Yeah,
of an
that's,
increase?
yes, I mean, but, the reason I was hesitant is because that was held to executive session, but now that
You
it's
have
out
to
in
be
the
very
public.
specific.
But, well, with matters of wages is pretty specific. But yes, since you've brought it to the surface, Mr. Mayor, yes, you're correct. An increase for a specific employee.
I would like to see this done in as a 2-person committee, which brings back a recommendation. So I'm going to vote against the executive session, but with the idea that that's how we're going to have to move forward.
Fair enough.
So we're dead. then.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for considering it, gentlemen. Thank you.
okay.
Do you want to decide who the other person would be then? If Rick raised that motion? Or?
Was
I
that a
mean-
motion?
We wouldn't have a
You
motion.
could
We
raise
didn't
that
have-
in
he
the
didn't
form
have
of
a
a
motion.
Do we have to make a motion, or we just form a working group?
Yeah, I guess you're right, we don't have to.
No, we can take, you guys can form a work group or decide.
I mean, I'll volunteer, but if you've done more legwork from one important department already, then you and Rick could work on it together.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, yourself?
I would like, yeah, I think wages and salaries are an important matter, and I would like to be on the work group.
Oh, you would?
Okay.
Yes, I
Well,
would.
then,
Well, you don't need to be 2, it could be, well, it can't be 3.
No, it can't be 3.
Can't be 3. No, it can't
That's
be
what I'm
3.
saying.
Sorry about that.
I mean,
But I think
We
they
got 2
need
groups
You
of 2.
brought it back.
they need to talk to all of us.
Right. So, John and Rick, you guys are doing it?
Sure,
okay.
sure.
And feel free to call me if you want to go over some past history and
Yeah.
just some of the statistics.
Yeah.
And I have
Okay.
everybody's HR, so I have everything.
Very important
She's got
person.
all the
Yes,
VIP.
info.
yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Any
you.
other discussion, any other matter?
No, thank
Thanks.
you, thank you.
Okay. Oh, and
You guys were talking-
new business, yes. So,
Wait, we have a question from the honor.
No, I have an item I just want to give away.
I'm sorry?
I have a question, an item I want to raise.
Oh, well then come up. Sorry, Andrew, we didn't have a public opinion, but if you want to come up to the microphone and give it to the board, that would be great. If anybody doesn't know, this is Andrew Hunter, who is a member of the Environmental Committee as well.
Oh,
Okay.
Relative
To the
what's
microphone,
been-
please. Thank you.
Relative to what's been discussion just now, this is a trivial matter, but the storm coming up tomorrow, do we have a schedule for checking the storm drains in the event of bad weather? It's an opportunity to do something good during a time when things are bad. And I noticed that several of the drains in my street, Livingston Street, look as though they haven't been cleared for a while, if at all.
I wish John Fenton was here.
Yeah, we lost John. So what we do have is a regular scheduled leaf pickup in which they're supposed to go through and clean off the drains, the catch basins when they do that as part of the leaf pickup program.
I mean, it's difficult to do because you've got to get under the grate and into the...
Oh,
So that typically that is done in the springtime.
Okay.
That's usually we bring like a vac and flush truck through.
Oh, you do?
It's not something we have in-house, but we have a contractor come through, and they come through and they pick them up, and then they do that flushing process.
Yeah.
Typically, we do it in the spring. That's
Thank you.
the cycle.
it's a vac truck.
Yeah. So it is irregular, but it's done in the spring. Okay. New business?
New bit, if you want, sorry, then we're now to the point of adjournment. If anything else wants to be discussed.
Sure, well, I'd like to discuss this. So when we last left off, in the discussion of the Streetscape Committee, the question was that we have a grant that's about to go out and makes reference to a walk-bike committee. The grant requires that we have a relevant committee that's working public outreach, to grants, take care of all that. And so the question was how to integrate the current need of the grant with the larger vision. So John and I met over the weekend, and we added some language to the Streetscape Committee resolution, which I think, Pat, I printed out in your office. I tried to shoot down there. Do you guys want to see? Because you haven't seen the new list now. So, can I see? Can I see if they have the? I can.
Rick, I brought a copy.
You brought a copy,
Yeah.
yeah, and I have a copy. But basically, I can give you the gist of what we did, and then I'll read the difference. But basically, the idea is that I've got it in front of me here. I've got it. It's a question for you. The issue is basically that we would create, that the Streetscape Committee would have the ability to create subcommittees, such as the Walk Bike Committee, which would be a subcommittee, and also outlining the idea that the committee also would be seeking and coordinating input from highway, water, wastewater, police, make sure that we get the panel with all the people that we need to conduct, that we need to talk to. So that was really the central change that we made. And that seemed to, I think, fulfill the requirements of the grant, so that we can move forward with our grant, and also make sure we have a coordinated effort going forward. So I think, John?
No, Trustee Lewitt, thank you. And we got together, Mr. Mayor, and we contemplated the different ways to do this. And I think that we all like the overarching idea of a streetscape committee that integrates the different departments, environmental, highway, trees, but we also want to make sure that there's a channel for what we'll call the Walk Bike Rhinebeck Committee or Subcommittee, because that ties back to everything that we've not only discussed, but we've nested now, woven into our two grants, both the CFA grant and now the Community Development Block Grant. So it's something that we believe in, that we should have this committee, and we have it tethered into our...
Nothing was printed anywhere, and it was not in Karen's office either.
Okay, sorry.
So the resolution that Trustee Lewitt and I did back in September, that can work, but I suggested that if one of the issues holding that up is that we've identified myself and Trustee Lewitt as the co-chairs, if it just wants to be Rick, I'm happy to drop off of it, or, forgo that resolution, and try and just weave into this one a specific reference to the WBR Walk Bike Rhinebeck Committee. And Rick said, hey, I like that idea.
And I think that's what we said at our last
Yeah.
meeting, that we
Yeah.
were going to integrate that into that.
Well,
So
right,
that's-
yeah, and we have.
That's
yeah.
consistent to what we wanted to do.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, correct.
That's basically what we wanted to do. Well, are you guys comfortable voting on it, or not?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to read it,
Can
or?
you send the email, did you send it to me? Because it has to be included in the minutes.
Okay, I will send it to you. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah,
Well, you need to.
because
Okay.
nobody sees it, nobody's
Gotcha.
seen
All
it.
right. So this is a resolution to create a streetscape committee. The purpose of the committee is to create a comprehensive and integrated evaluation of Rhinebeck's streetscapes, resulting in design recommendations, costs, and financing for the following areas: increased walking and bicycling, improved access to the central business district and schools from all points of the village, pedestrian, bicycle, and automobile safety, preserving and enhancing the historic beauty of the village, improving drainage and stormwater retention. The committee will draw upon its members, resources within the village and town, resources of local colleges, and professionals to examine best practices with the goal of producing Rhinebeck-specific solutions. The committee will deliver a series of design guidelines, a prioritized plan, and a financial analysis for the board's review and implementation. And then I will discuss the rationale. Rationale. One of Rhinebeck's great assets is the retention of its 19th century central business district and residential area. Unlike many modern villages, Rhinebeck remains walkable and pedestrian friendly. However, villagers' concerns, public health issues, and changing demographics require improving pedestrian access with an emphasis on three key groups: families with young children, an aging population, and businesses. Rhinebeck has undertaken several revisions of its master plans, most recently in 1993. Consistent within each plan is residents' clear desire for better sidewalks, increased walkability, traffic calming, and the maintenance of Rhinebeck as a walkable village. Most recently, in 2011, a group of citizens working with Dutchess County delivered Rhinebeck Village Worth Walking, which reiterated similar concerns and goals. In the intervening years, additional issues have arisen. As our population ages, so are our sidewalks deteriorating and becoming increasingly hazardous. An emerging issue is stormwater runoff. Some streets are poorly drained, while others drain directly into Crystal Lake or other waterways. With the predicted increase in torrential rains, these problems will be exacerbated. In the past, such issues have been addressed in piecemeal fashion, focusing on specific aspects of streetscape, such as intersections, crosswalks, street trees, and catch basins. The results have been only partly effective. For example, some elements, sidewalks, automotive sightlines, are in competition with another, trees. A comprehensive evaluation is required to forge a working and lasting solution. The current best planning advice is to understand the separate elements of village streets, sidewalks, crosswalks, trees, drainage, as an integrated whole. The Streetscape Committee will take this approach and draw upon community and professional expertise to develop solutions. Some of the expertise currently exists locally. The village has a robust tree commission, an engaged citizenry, and a sidewalk study likely to be updated soon. The Streetscape Committee will seek and coordinate input from village departments, parentheses, highway, water, wastewater, police, close, parentheses, and relevant committees and commissions of the village, and shall establish subcommittees, such as a walk-bike committee, as necessary. The Streetscape Committee will draw upon these and outside resources to formulate design and management guidelines for the current and anticipated problems described above. And then there is a list of potential personnel, would be concerned community member, county planning, engineers, financial evaluators, at least speaking to the healthcare community, clearly the historical society, the landscape architect, the real estate and business community, Rhinebeck at Home, the tree commission, and urban planner, and of course input from the village trustees. So that is the resolution in its entirety.
Could we just add the word, Gary, I'm sorry, could you just take that from me again? Thank you. Walk bike to walk bike Rhinebeck, just so that it's completely consistent. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But then
Got it.
it's perfectly
Okay. Walk back.
aligned with everything else we've said.
So, so the goal here is to, as I said before, is to really try to take a comprehensive look at some of these issues. I've been up to Red Hook, and they recently rebuilt some streets, and basically calmed traffic, improved drainage, made it clear how to park, and they even did some interesting stuff where basically they've created curbs that are flush with the street, so that what's happening on their streets, as with ours, is every time you pave, the street gets a little wider and wider and wider because the pavement, the asphalt sort of stretches out, and you have a very ill-defined curb space and bad drainage. Well, what they did is they put in basically small concrete flush-mounted curbs. So the asphalt goes up to a certain place, there's a concrete curb which is flush, and then there's grass, and there's accommodation for drainage in the grass. But the idea is people can park, as they usually do around here, with a wheel or two on the grass, so that they're a little bit on the side. But the road's not crumbling, it's kept in one place, and you've improved the drainage. So it's looking at these kinds of solutions, looking at these kinds of issues that I think that I would like to see the committee tackling. And that goes all the way to how do we do a better job maintaining our sidewalks, how do we do a better job maintaining our trees. We have the Tree Commission received the grant from the Frost Foundation to do the survey of our trees, which is to begin within a week or so, I believe. And that will also bring forth a management plan. We have an environmental committee. Again, this is a chance to look at these things as a comprehensive whole, and really and I think the important phrase for me is to come up with Rhinebeck specific solutions. We're looking for things, I would suggest that we're looking for things that fit within the character of our village. So that would be my pitch. Any questions?
No, I think it's what was set out to be done.
Okay.
The only thing is that, again, you didn't say how many people on it, or I don't know if you could leave it open-ended, but, or if there's a residency requirement, it's only village folk.
I did not put a residency requirement. I mean, we do want to have community members, and some of the people who would who'd be having input are clearly community members. But at some point, some of this stuff, there is like academic and professional research that you really want to be able to draw on. So you really want to be able to control those people.
An urban planner.
An urban planner. There's a lot of, and urban architects. There's just people who are really specializing in this kind of stuff now. So.
So you don't think you can get them all from the village?
I don't know. I don't think we get them all from the village. And I think in some ways.
If it's possible, why not?
It's possible. But, I mean, I would look first, but I think this would actually put Rhinebeck ahead of a lot of places. So that I think you're going to have to draw pretty broad. I've been doing a fair amount of reading and research, and there are a group of people who are really committed. Even Dutchess County has its I think Safe Streets program, so we'd be looking to integrate them. But I think it is that there's expertise, there's broad expertise, and we should really be looking wide. It's a villager's decision at the end, for sure, but I think drawing broadly is a key, really important.
I'd like to also comment that this plays very well in with our climate smart community application in terms of having a commitment to do this. It helps move that process along as well for the climate smart task force.
And when in the phrases that John and I added, we talked about working with relevant committees and commissions, and that would be climate smart. So we really do want to take a full look and see what we can do.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution for the Streetscape Committee.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
So there's no resident requirement and no number of committee members?
No, I'm going to leave that up to the chair.
Because they would have to come back to us, because you do have to have a number. all the other committees do.
So, yeah, when you bring somebody
Okay,
onto the
we'll
committee,
bring, okay, we'll have to bring it.
I'm just
Okay. Fair enough.
being-
That's easy enough.
right, you need to bring them forward
For approval, okay. Very good. And Pat, I'm
since
sending
it's a
you-
village committee.
Correct. Send
Okay.
this to you right now.
Any other business?
No, sir.
No.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 6:09. I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Very good.